Hi guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Susan. I was born clairvoyant. I had a near-death experience in 2017 in which I merged with the Unnamable God, and now I mentor other women through their spiritual awakenings. If you're new here, welcome. Please hit subscribe. If you're interested in any classes or guided meditations, you can find me on Patreon or over on Facebook in Divining Women, and I'd love to see you either place, so welcome. Today we're going to talk about the Major Arcana of the Tarot. I thought it would be fun to start addressing some of the metaphysical basics that often go undetailed. So, in the Major Arcana, there are 22 cards, 22 out of 74. There are many different kinds of tarot decks. My favorite, the one that you guys see me using all the time, is the Thoth deck. And I love this one because it's super heavy into astrology and symbols of alchemy and ancient Egypt mythology. So that's the deck I tend to use. Many people use the Rider-Waite deck. That's the traditional and original deck. And you're probably familiar with some of those images. But the deck is divided into the Major and Minor Arcana. The Major Arcana, numbered 0 to 21, is also called the trump cards. The trumps or the Major Arcana. So it starts with card number 0. And in the Rider-Waite deck, it's also called the Fool. You can see here the Fool. So this card is so important. It is the zero-sum game. It's the starting point. There's something in mythology, if you guys are familiar, called the hero's journey. And from 0 to card 21, that's the Fool going through the hero's journey. And I'll tell you what that is just briefly. Somebody leaves his or her place of comfort, goes out to a place or a circumstance that's totally foreign to them. They encounter great challenges and they have to overcome great trials. And there is a struggle to do so. But in the end, they are victorious. And then most importantly, they return to their place of origin to teach what it is they learned. That's the nutshell of the hero's journey. And this is the Fool. And you see this cycle. It's like the beginning of a spiral, the beginning of a labyrinth-like path. It reminds me of those meditation labyrinths that you sometimes find. Often they're made of stones or hedges. But that's his path. And he's about to take his first step onto it. It requires courage, and it also requires a little bit of naivete, a little bit of blind faith. And that's also represented here by the fact that the tiger's biting him, but he looks unswayed. That's the first card of the Major Arcana, the first step of the hero's journey. And then we end with card number 21, which in the Thoth deck is called the Universe. In the Rider-Waite deck, it's called the World. Now this is a card of cosmic completion, much like the drop of the ocean, the drop pouring into the ocean, and the ocean pouring into the drop. It's a card of ecstatic union, of completion, of at one-ment. There's an ancient Japanese symbol, and I do not know if I'm pronouncing this right. I apologize if I'm not, but it's called Aroburo. And it's a sacred ancient symbol of a snake in a circle eating its own tail. And it reminds me of this card. This card, much like the infinity symbol, represents eternity and something that is constantly recreating itself. So that's from start to finish, the hero's journey, or the story of the Major Arcana. The other thing to know about these cards, and to me this is most important, you guys probably know I'm obsessed with Carl Jung, and Carl Jung was obsessed with archetypes. And each one of these Major Arcana or trump cards are archetypes. And what that means is the images depicted on each card are so intrinsic to the human experience, they need no explanation. For example, if I showed you this card, this is the sun. It wouldn't matter what language you spoke, what continent you lived on. You would recognize something familiar about this card. That's how deep and deeply resonant and deeply meaningful these cards are to our incarnations. So when you're dealing with your tarot deck, you'll know with a little bit extra information this time that when you pull a Major Arcana, it signifies something extra important. If the minor arcana are like the pages in a book, the major arcana are like the chapter changes. And not only that, when you draw one of these cards, because they're archetypal, which means they're 100% so thoroughly ingrained in the way we live our lives. Take that into account and be sure to thoroughly analyze all sections of your life. Because an archetypal card, like the Major Arcana, impacts everything. It is not a specific energy. It's really the whole tapestry. So I hope this helps. I hope this inspires you to experiment with your deck, maybe a little more than you were, and discern some even deeper meaning from the cards that you pull. And don't be afraid to experiment. That's the other thing. There are no rules. No matter what you read, no matter what anyone says, there are no rules. Oftentimes, I'll do readings in my personal practice where I only use the Major Arcana. You can do as you please. These cards are simply extensions of your own intuitive energy. They are not outside objects applying their own force onto you. They are energetic extensions and reflections of you. So, hope you guys like that. Please subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week.